You would think that having 3 different tablet sizes would make choosing the right one easier, but it might actually make it harder. If we start out only looking at the display size, the Tab S8 is 11 inches, the S8 Plus is 12.4 inches, and the Tab S8 Ultra is a massive 14.6 inches. I wouldn't even categorize these as small, medium, and large. I would go with medium, large, and extra large. If it's at all possible for you, I would recommend that you go to a store and actually handle each one of these because they're drastically different, and just looking at the specs doesn't really tell you the whole story. For example, I love how big the Ultra is. It's amazing for watching content, and I like how big the games look when I'm playing, but at the same time, it gets really heavy after a while. Now, the Tab S8 is a lot lighter and it's more portable, but of course you're giving up on display size. And then finally, the Plus is right in the middle where you're getting some of the features of the Ultra and then a few of the benefits of the Tab S8. All right, so that was the size of the displays, but what about the quality? Now, all 3 have a 16:10 aspect ratio, but we have 2 different types of displays. So let's quickly take a look at the specs side by side and then talk about what this actually means to your day-to-day use. The Tab S8 has an 11-inch adaptive 120Hz LTPS TFT display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600 and 274 pixels per inch. The Tab S8 has a larger 12.4-inch 120Hz Super AMOLED display with a higher resolution of 2800 by 1752 and a slightly lower pixel density at 266 pixels per inch. Now finally, the Tab S8 Ultra display is the largest at 14.6 inches. It's also a 120Hz Super AMOLED display. It has the highest resolution at 2960 by 1848, and it has the lowest pixel density at 240 pixels per inch. So starting with the refresh rate, while all 3 of these can go up to 120 Hz, the Tab S8 is the only one that has an adaptive 120 Hz option, so the tablet can change the refresh rate in real time based on what you're doing. It can offer a faster refresh rate when you're navigating around the OS or when you're scrolling on a web page or gaming, and it can automatically save on battery life by dropping the refresh rate when you're reading or looking at static content. And all 3 also give you the option of setting the refresh rate to 60 Hz if you want to prioritize battery life. In terms of image quality, I have to tell you that the Tab S8 is excellent, the image is extremely sharp, and the colors look great. But if you're looking for the best image quality, you'll get that from the 2 higher-end Super AMOLED displays. The colors are vibrant, the blacks are deeper, and we have HDR10+ support, which I absolutely love as more and more HDR content is created. We'll talk more about multitasking later on, but the higher resolution on the Ultra also makes it easier to use multiple apps at the same time, and even if you're only using one app, you can see more content on the screen at once without having to scroll. When we look at battery life, the Tab S8 comes with an 8000 mAh battery, the S8 Plus comes with a 10,090, and then the Ultra comes with 11,200 mAh battery. One thing to keep in mind is that none of these tablets comes with a charging adapter, so you should check out the Ugreen Nexode 100-watt charger, and thank you to Ugreen for sponsoring this video. What I like about this adapter is that it has 3 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port, and since more and more of my devices accept faster charging, this gives me more flexibility. For example, each of these tablets accepts 45 watts of charging, so I can have 2 of them plugged in, getting as much charge as they need, and still have a little extra juice for a couple of other devices. This is a gallium nitride charger, so the components can be smaller without overheating, and together with the fact that you can fold the prongs in, you get a very portable form factor. I also really like the fact that it has an integrated system to protect my devices from overheating damage. It's a great option when I travel because I only need to bring one small charger and I can charge multiple devices at once, and because it's a 100-watt charger, Ugreen says that it can even charge a 16-inch MacBook Pro in 1.5 hours. Use the code in the description to get 35% off the Ugreen Nexode 100-watt charger, and let me know what you think when you get yours. Back to the battery life, I was curious to see how the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip performed, and I can tell you that I've been getting very good battery life out of all 3. It's somewhere between 8 and 13 hours of typical use. Now, of course, if I'm doing something like rendering a video or gaming for a few hours, that's gonna eat up the battery, and let me know if you'd like me to do a more detailed battery test. From a design standpoint, all 3 tablets are virtually identical. We've got a machined aluminum frame with rounded corners, squared off edges, and small bezels all the way around. All three have volume controls and a power button on the side, a USB-C port for charging and connecting accessories, and 4 speakers. We're also getting a micro USB card slot on all three, which allows us to expand the internal storage by up to an additional terabyte. Now, if you haven't had this feature before, you can actually transfer many of the apps and games right off of the internal storage onto the micro SD card, so you have a lot more room to work with. Now, all three also have a magnetic strip on the back for charging the S Pen, and we'll get to the camera systems in just a moment because they're similar, but they're not the same. As far as biometric authentication, all three tablets offer face recognition with a front-facing camera. All three also offer a fingerprint sensor. The one on the Tab S8 is incorporated into the power button, and the ones on the Plus and the Ultra are on-display sensors. Now, both types have worked really well for me, but I think the on-display sensor feels more natural to use. Now, let's quickly go over the camera and speaker systems because there are a lot of similarities, but some important differences. So all three come with the same rear-facing camera system, a 13 megapixel main camera and a 6 megapixel ultra-wide. When we look at the front-facing camera, all three come with a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, but the Tab S8 Ultra has an additional 12 megapixel camera that is less wide. It's also the only one of the three that has a notch. Now, I do my best to read all of your comments, and I've had a few questions about whether the notch is a problem. Well, personally, it doesn't bother me. For full screen apps, I never really notice it anymore, and even when I do, the sheer size of the display means that it's not really an inconvenience. Also, when watching content, the 16:10 aspect ratio means that the notch is hidden in the small black bars. Now, if you're someone who's going to make a point of looking at the notch every time, even on the Ultra's extremely high screen to body ratio, then this might not be the tablet for you. If you want my perspective, the advantages of a larger display with smaller bezels outweigh any aesthetic implications of the notch. When it comes to the audio system, the 4 speakers on all three are powered by AKG and support Dolby Atmos. In terms of audio quality, these are some of the best sounding tablet speakers that I've tested. And if I were to rank them, I would put the Ultra all the way at the top. The Plus is a very close second, and then the Tab S8 would be third, but not very far behind. Now, if you've watched any of my accessory videos, you know that I always like to get a keyboard case so that I can get more done with any of my tablets. Now, I don't mind using the on-screen keyboard on a phone, but on a tablet, I think a keyboard case just makes a huge difference. Now, all three tablets have the option of the original book cover keyboard, which has a touchpad, a design that allows for the S Pen to be protected while charging, and it gives you the ability to separate the keyboard from the back for when you want to use any of these in tablet mode. The second option is the book cover keyboard Slim, and it's only available for the Tab S8 and the S8 Plus. It's a more compact design and it's more sturdy, but it doesn't come with a touchpad. You can't separate the keyboard, and the S Pen is not protected when it's charging. If we're comparing the same style case across all three, then I'm going to give the edge to the Ultra, followed by the Plus, and then the Tab S8. The keyboards and trackpads themselves are larger with the Ultra, and the typing experience improves noticeably as you move up in size. Now, moving on to stylus, all three tablets come with the Bluetooth-enabled S Pen, which I think adds a lot of value. I love the fact that you don't need to spend extra money on a stylus, and I think more users end up realizing how to use the S Pen to get more out of their tablets. The S Pen itself is the same with all three tablets, but the latency on the Plus and the Ultra is actually lower. At the same time, I can tell you that after using all of these tablets a lot, I don't really notice that lower latency in any of my day-to-day use. What I do notice is that I prefer a larger tablet when I'm using the S Pen because I'm getting a larger canvas to work with. When we look at processing power, all three of these come with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, so performance across all three devices is essentially identical. When we look at RAM, both the 128 and the 256 models of the Tab S8 and the Plus come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. With the Ultra, the 128 gigabyte model comes with 8, 256 comes with 12, and 512 comes with 16 gigs of RAM. And I'm going to come back to this storage situation later on because I really do wish that Samsung did something different here. Now, all three tablets come with Android 12 and One UI 4.1, so we're getting the same multitasking features. As I mentioned, I prefer the larger displays when possible, especially when working with multiple apps. If I want more of a laptop-like experience, then we can boot up all three of these in Dex mode, which offers more of a desktop-like user interface. We're getting an actual desktop with icons, folders, a taskbar. You can open multiple windows, you can snap them to half the display, and even have floating windows. A Dex works great with a keyboard case, or you can connect your tablet to an external display, then get a dual display setup with a mouse and an external keyboard. Another great use for these tablets is as an additional display for your desktop or laptop. So for example, I can use my 13-inch Samsung Galaxy Book Pro 360, wirelessly pair it with any of these tablets, and this way I always have a portable dual display setup when I'm on the go. Again, this would be another area where the larger display is better, and while the Tab S8 works well, I absolutely love using the Ultra for this. When it comes to having fun, I played a bunch of games including PUBG and Genshin Impact on all three tablets, and I also paired my Xbox controller and used the Xbox Game Pass app to stream games. Now, since we're getting the same chip on all three, I was easily able to play any game that I tried. The games ran smoothly, and I didn't notice a difference between the 8 and 16 gigs of RAM on my Ultra. When playing PUBG, you can go to HDR for graphics with frame rate set to extreme, or you can set graphics to Ultra HD and frame rate to Ultra. Now, I usually play on either smooth or balanced for graphics, and then extreme for frame rate, so I can get a fluid gaming experience and extend the battery life as much as possible. When it comes to choosing a tablet, I would suggest that you think about what games you play and how you play them. So for example, when I play PUBG, one of my friends plays while holding the tablet up. So he's gonna absolutely love the size of the Tab S8. Now another friend has the tablet on a pillow, so since she doesn't have to support the tablet the whole time, she really likes how big everything is on the Ultra. When I switch things around and use a controller, personally, I love the Ultra because it's a really big and beautiful display. All right, so let's look at the configuration options, and this is where I wish Samsung had done something different. I'm using the official Samsung prices because they're more standardized, but you can usually find better prices or discounts by using the links in the description. So the Tab S8 starts at $699, the Plus is $899, and the Ultra is $1099. And these are all the 128 gigabyte models. Now all three are also available with 256 gigabytes, but Samsung doesn't offer the Tab S8 or the Plus with 512 gigs, only the Ultra. And I really wish they did offer these two. At least you could still get a micro SD card and add a ton of inexpensive internal storage. So if you need more than what's available, that's a super important benefit with all three tablets. Now you should see how the Tab S8 Ultra compares with the 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.